Naam. We mentioned, I think it was 5 things. So the first one was that if 30 days of Sha'ban pass, and then Ramadan obviously is wajib upon everybody. The second one was that if someone themselves sees the moon, whether they're a pious person or a sinning person, it is wajib upon them themselves. The third one was that if an upright just person sees it, it becomes wajib upon the whole community. The fourth one was that if an unjust or non-pious person says it and you believe it to be true, it's wajib upon yourself. And the fourth one was that if you can't cite, and then you can use ijtihad, and then if you have dhan, if you think it's probably Ramadan, then you should fast. Then we briefly discussed the different views yesterday. We said that the traditional view and the majority view is um, the sighting with the eye, and that can be extended to a telescope that doesn't have refraction in it, that you look directly. And we discussed that can be regional sightings, or it can be based on the matla, the rising line of the sun, or it can be based on the distance of travel. Those are the three views. And then we discussed the calendar view, and which is practiced by some people, and we've discussed Fali Makkah, which is practiced by some people in Eid al-Adha. Now, okay. Any questions about that? Bismillah.
Ramadan question, but I heard recently that with regards to Ghusl of Janaba, it's not compulsory to do it normally, only the use stop. Is that true?
Not there, no, no, no.
Maybe just a weird question about that, or with regards to Ramadan not starting the same time everywhere in the world. Is there about one night for everybody? Is it different in different places? How does that work?
No, so Laylatul Qadr is like, there's about 40 opinions on Laylatul Qadr. So there's like a whole lot of opinions. Some opinions say Imam Shafi said the 21st and the 23rd. One of the most common opinions is the 27th. Some ulama would say it moves from year to year. Some ulama say you count forwards, and some ulama say you count backwards. Because what I mean by that is that the hadith says the last 10 nights. But you only know the last 10 when you know when it ends. Because if it's 30 days, it's 20 to 30. If it's 29, it's 19 to 29. So some ulama count backwards, some ulama count forwards. So in the end, it's going to be a mystery. In the end, it's going to be a mystery. All we have to know is that there is Laylatul Qadr, whether you're sighting with the calendar or with the moon or whatever the case is, but we don't actually know the specific night. And whether it's like one universal night or whether it's a different night for different regions or a different night in different years, those are all things that we don't actually know. We just know it exists. Yeah. Bismillah, is a question? No question. Okay. Okay. But the questions are good, mashallah. With regard to the ghusl, inshallah, we'll do it when we get to Kitab al-Ghusl. After fasting, we do ghusl, inshallah. Cool. Okay, so now we go to the shurut. So, what is the shart? What is the condition? Okay, it's something that must be in place before the action is valid. And something that must be in place before the action is valid. So you can even translate it as a precondition, like it's a requisite. It's something that is required for the action to become valid. Now, Bismillah was reading. New person, inshallah. Can all look down, look intensely down. Just somebody read, inshallah, Bismillah. Just read a line by line, it's easy. Let's enjoy the awkward silence for a bit. I'll have more water. Bismillah. Okay. The shart of its sihha. Okay. So we can separate. Let me just share my screen here for the online students. We can separate here between something being sahih. Let me just do I have a fiqh presentation. Here we go. Fiqh 2026. Okay. So we can separate between something being sahih. There you go. Something which is sahih. What's opposite of sahih? Batil. So batil. Okay. So we'll translate this here as legally valid, and this here we're going to call this legally invalid. Okay. Then you get two other concepts which I want to just point difference to. Something which there is qabul for. What's qabul? This is going to be something. Oops. This is going to be, let's call this divine acceptance. And you can really call this here rudud. Qabulun, yeah. Okay. Rudud means divine rejection. So what's the difference between qabul and sahih? Like you will explain to me what's the difference between qabul and sahih. Okay, so what's the difference? Sina?
We don't actually know what system of ages, but they're friends, coming related, so the companies like for us, but
Good. So the top one, the sahih one, is something that we judge based on the conditions of the action. The conditions of the action. For example, if we were to say that a fast is legally valid, it means that you didn't eat, drink, and have intimacies from before dawn until sunset. So then you met the conditions of fasting, the conditions and the integrals of it, and then the fasting is legally valid. If halfway through the day you decided I'm tired of fasting, then you ate something, then the fast is batil, it is legally invalid. However, if a fast is legally valid, doesn't mean Allah accepts it. Doesn't mean Allah accepts it automatically. No, it doesn't mean Allah accepts it, because Allah accepts something which is sincere, something which is done for His sake. Maybe that person was refraining just to prove to other people that they're fasting and didn't do it for the sake of Allah Ta'ala, for example. Or maybe that person was fasting, but they were sinning all the time while they're fasting. From morning till night, they were engaged in sin, but they weren't eating and drinking, but they were engaged in other sins. Maybe they're busy robbing a bank or something, or committing a murder. So you could say, yes, you're fasting, but we don't know. Allah knows best in terms of what He accepts. Now, is it possible for Allah to accept something which is legally invalid? Can Allah accept something that's legally invalid? What do you think? Maybe the person didn't know, maybe the person made a mistake, maybe the person, whatever. Basically, Allah can accept the action even if it is legally invalid. Meaning what? maybe someone makes salah, but some of the hair is out. The fuqaha will say, oh, that's not legally valid because your hair was out. But Allah could accept the salah because it's made with sincerity and made with khushu, with awe of Allah Ta'ala, and therefore Allah could accept it. You with me? So the difference between the two is important. So what we are studying is we're studying the first two. We're studying what is sahih and what is batil. As for what is accepted by Allah Ta'ala, that is more like about the state of your heart. Because generally we believe that if our hearts are sincere, Allah accepts those actions. But that's to do with the state of the heart. But they will not do that. That you do like in the Tazkiyah lesson or Tasawwuf lesson. But here we're just doing the fiqh lesson. So we're doing Sahih and Batil. What you want to get to a stage is that you want to get to a stage where you don't have to worry about your thing being Sahih, because it must be like automatic. Like you all know how to fast. You don't have to like stress, is my fasting now a valid fast? You all know you mustn't eat and drink from this time to this time. So that's not the concern. The concern is actually around Qabul. You with me? Is my heart focused on Allah Ta'ala? Is my intention pure? That's actually where you want the focus of your ibadah to be. So a lot of the tone of this year is to try to understand the Sahih and the Batil so that you can, in a sense, almost move on from it. Because it's not good to get to a state where you're making ibadah and you have like preoccupations or OCD, like, did I make a mistake? Is it legally valid? Is it legally invalid? Like, and I'm sure some people in the class have that. Take wudu 3 times and make salah twice over. People do that because they're preoccupied with the legal validity. So in this year, inshallah, you get a lot of clarity on what is legally valid so that you can understand and move on. Move on means you can focus on the state of your heart and focus on actually connecting to Allah Ta'ala, not being preoccupied by the legal questions, inshallah. Okay. Now, so when they use the word siha, shurutu siha is it with sahih or with qabul? Sahih. So when you use siha, they're speaking about the legal soundness of it. You with me? The legal validity of it. No. Therefore, when Nabi Ibrahim and Nabi Ismail built the Kaaba, what did they say afterwards? Rabbana taqabbal minna. They did the action, which they did it according to Allah's command, in a sahih way. They built the Kaaba. But immediately afterwards, the action wasn't, it's all right, Allah. The action was accepted from us. No. So taqabbal Allah, you like greet each other after salah and all of those things. Or after a prayer, you say taqabbal Allah. You're saying, we've done the action, it's legally fine, but may Allah accept it. No. Okay. So shurutu sihhati, that is the shuruti is the mubtada and arba'atu is the khabar. Shurutu sihhatihi, the conditions or preconditions sihhatihi of its legal soundness is, always is before the khabar, is what? Arba'atu ashya. Or arba'atu ashya are four ashya, four things, four matters, four conditions. Bismillah. So the first one is going to be Islam. Islam. Meaning what? Someone non-Muslim can fast from, like a normal Muslim fast, they can fast, but we don't consider it to be legally valid. You with me? It's not a legally valid fast because the person is not Muslim. No. Next one. Aqlun means someone who is sane. So generally speaking, if someone is not sane, غير عاقل, they're not mukallaf. They're not mukallaf, and so they're equivalent to like a small child of like 4 years old, 5 years old. There's no burden upon them. No. Bismillah. No, if they're not saints. No. They're not mukallaf. They can do it, but they're not mukallaf by it. No. I think it will depend on the severity of it. It will depend on the severity of it. And so I think each matter needs to look in individually on the severity, because sometimes there's a spectrum of these things. And if it's a low spectrum, the person is not actually insane. You know what I mean? They're not, they have maybe some developmental issues, but they're not like insane. So I think you have to check it out. Like someone who's aqil, someone who has like a grasp of reality. Right? Aqil doesn't have a grasp of reality. Now, Bismillah. ونقاء, and they must have purity, mean from nahwi, from the like of hayd. So why they say nahwi there? Because also include nifas as well. That someone has to be pure from hayd or from nifas, meaning what? That if you fast in hayd, it's not legally valid. No. I think there's a movement now, women in hayd want to fast. Not like scholars, like just like university people, mashallah. They say, why must well, man's like a woman, so we're all equal. So why must we be deprived of fasting in our haid when the men can fast and we should also fast? I don't know. If you have haid, it's a rahmah. Take a break, inshallah. It's Allah's law, basically. No. Bismillah. نعم وعلم, and the person must have knowledge بكون الوقت, by the fact that the time is قابلا, is appropriate, is right, للصوم, for fasting. Meaning what? You must know it's Ramadan. You must know Ramadan is entered, and this is the fast that you're going to do. That is the shurut of the sihha of it. We can read some of the footnotes here. It says here, non-Muslim will not be asked to fast, nor would it be valid if he did, though he is punished in the next life for not doing so. Now, a woman who's gender in the Shafi madhab, all the ibadat require you to be Muslim first before acceptance. A woman whose period ends during a day of Ramadan, is mustahab to fast the rest of the day, and is wajib to make up fast and the fast days prior to it when missed during her period or menstrual period. We'll get to it, inshallah. But what happens if your haid ends in midday? In midday, you can't fast that day because the fast is past. But what you can do, it's optional, but it's recommended by the fiqh books, is you make something called imsak. Imsak means that you refrain from eating and drinking, but it's not a legal fast. So maybe you had breakfast in the morning, then you had your coffee, and then your haid ended by dhuhr time. And now you take a ghusl, now you're pure, you're legally pure, and you're in a state where you could be fasting, but you missed the beginning because you had haid in the morning. And so the sunnah then is to make imsak. Imsak means to refrain from eating and drinking. Is this well known or not well known? Not well known. Okay. Again, so remember we went into the ahkam. When I say it's sunnah, what does it mean? If you do it, you get rewarded, and if you don't do it, there's no effect on you. You must get the ahkam clear in your mind, so you know how to navigate it. Now, okay. So these are some of the preconditions. So now we're going to go to shurutu wujubi. Who's reading next? Come, Bismillah, was used to reading. I also don't know your names. What's all the readers' names? What's the name, sorry? Nasreen, who read yesterday? What's the name? Imra. I want to remember your names anyway. Imra and Nasreen. Next to you, inshallah, Yusuf Hafidha. What's the name? Asya Kadri, inshallah, Bismillah. Now, so the next one is going to be shart. What is shart again? A precondition. But this is not the precondition of its sihha. This is a precondition of its wujub. What does wujub mean? It's compulsory. So under what condition does it become compulsory? And how many things must they be in place? Khamsatu ashya. Khamsa means 5. So for fasting to become wajib upon a person, there must be 5 things in place before fasting is wajib upon an individual. Meaning what? You must meet all 5 and then fasting is wajib. If you don't have all 5, then fasting is not wajib upon you. Okay, so Bismillah. Al-Islamu is going to be the first one, meaning what? It's not wajib upon you if you are not Muslim. Though we say you will be punished for it in the next life, but you can't tell a non-Muslim it's wajib to fast, so you must fast without taking shahada. You got me? So Islam is the first thing. Next thing, what's taklif? Mukallaf. What does mukallaf mean? Mukallaf generally is going to be 3 conditions. Mukallaf, how many conditions? 3 conditions. Number 1, the person must reach sexual maturity or reach the age of sexual maturity. What do I mean by that? If it's a woman, she either must get a haid, then she's baligh, or if she reaches 15 lunar years and she hasn't got a haid, then she automatically still becomes baligh. You with me? So some people might get their haid late, and that happens sometimes. So she might reach 15 lunar years, which in solar years is about 14 and a half years. So about 14 and a half solar years equals to about 15 lunar years. If she reaches there without getting a haid, she automatically also becomes baligh. And then for the male, again, he must have a wet dream, or he must reach 15 as well. So then they sexually mature. The next condition is, that's one. The next condition is they must be aqil. They must be sane. When you sane and when you sexually mature, those are the 2 main 2. Then they call you mukallaf. When you sane and when you sexually mature, then you call you mukallaf. There's one other one that's mentioned sometimes, not mentioned other times, but you must have what they call in Arabic now again, you must have what's it, tablighu da'wah, is that the message of Islam must have reached you. The message of Islam must have reached you. Because if you're in a jungle somewhere and if you baligh and you're aqil, if the message doesn't come to you, you're not mukallaf. Because you're mukallaf by what? Mukallaf means burdened, duty bound. But you can't be duty bound unless you got the message. And so then you're غير mukallaf if you haven't reached the message. And the Shafi madhab also, you must be able to see and hear. If you can't see and you can't hear, you're not mukallaf also. No. Which is rare, but happens sometimes. So those things there are called mukallaf. Mukallaf now means you're duty bound by the divine law. So the second one here is going to be taklif. So taklif is sexual maturity plus aqil plus being sane plus getting the message of its being wajib of Islam basically. Now, therefore, our position is that people who don't receive the message are not by default punished in the next life. No. There's different opinions with regard to them. Some say there will be a test in the next life. Some people say that they'll automatically enter into Jannah, like a child. No. Number 3 is going to be what? Bismillah. Itaqa. So itaqa means that someone has the ability. So in this footnote, the next page, number 7 says one is capable of bearing the fast. Someone whom fasting exhausts because of advanced years or having illness from which he is unlikely to recover is not required to fast. So itaqa is separate from being ill. Itaqa just means that you where we now? No, itaqa just means that you have the physical ability to fast. So sometimes someone might be very elderly and they're weak and they're frail. They don't have an illness per se, but they're just really weak and really frail, and it's really going to, if they push themselves, maybe they can do it, but it's going to actually cause them harm. It's going to cause them great difficulty. And then they don't have to fast because they don't have itaqa to do it. No. So it's going to be with regard to itaqa. But then they'll pay the fidya instead. Bismillah. The next one is to do with health. So here it says here. Also, Itaka also is someone who has like a disease that they're not going to recover from. And it hinders their fasting. They don't have to fast because it's a permanent state. And someone like with very bad diabetes, they're unlikely to recover from it, and therefore they don't have Itaka to fast. Then illness. Illness is more something which is like temporary, meaning what you've got something, whatever, bad flu, you've got something, some illness. So how do you know how ill is ill enough? So here it will tell you the illness that permits not fasting, being that fasting which would worsen or delay recovery from. So number one, if fasting is going to make your illness more severe, you don't have to fast. Number two, if fasting is going to delay your recovery, meaning what you'd have recovered maybe in 3 days, but you're fasting now, we can take you 5 days, you don't have to fast if it's going to delay your recovery. Or if fasting is going to cause you some sort of harm, some sort of intense pain, intense difficulty, you don't have to fast. Okay, so that's generally where the illness lies. And generally we say if you're unsure, then you go to a Muslim doctor, because like the Muslim doctor understands fasting and what's it about, and they can make the call and say, yes, no, don't fast, too fast. Yeah, it's fine. If there's a specialist, it will be fine, inshallah. It's preferable as Muslim, but if it's a specialist and you're seeing the specialist, it's fine, inshallah. You can just explain to them what the fasting means and all of those things. But traditionally in the fiqh, they specify a Muslim doctor, but one could make exceptions in that kind of case, because it's not easy like to find a Muslim specialist for everything. Yeah, so if it's an illness, it gets paid back. But if it's something where it's like terminal, when it's continuous, you don't pay it back, you just pay fidya. Yeah. Okay. Anything about the health thing you're unsure about? I'm teaching you this now because you're going to fast next 2 days' time, so you must know all the fiqh, inshallah. Yeah, so if the chronic illness is not going to allow you to fast indefinitely, you with me? Maybe the person has diabetes and they must take insulin shots and they have to eat or whatever the case is. If it doesn't permit you to fast, and it's a terminal thing, meaning what's continuous thing, is terminal right word? Chronic or chronic illness, not terminal. Terminal, you die. Oh, we're all terminal. We're gonna die anyway. Life is terminal. But if it's a chronic illness, and then you don't have to repay the days. No.
In the evening, but they cannot stay without it. So that is, would it break the fast? Because then they would have to take it in after Fajr or before Maghrib.
It will break the fast, yes, and then they have to repay the day because they don't have a chronic illness which stops them from fasting. It's just they didn't administer it properly for that day. And so it's different opinions with it, but they would basically break their fast. I mean, to break their fast and have to repay the day. Because when you look at the chronic illness, you check, does the chronic illness, because not every chronic illness says you can't fast. You with me? You can have a chronic illness that allows you to fast. I don't know what people, I don't really know this stuff, maybe have lupus or something, I don't know, like different things. You could have different illnesses and it doesn't prohibit your fasting. And so therefore, you're like a normal person. Like a normal person, where if you break it, you must repay it. No. Okay. Anything else on the health things? No. Okay. And the last one, Bismillah. Bismillah. I'll come to the pre-breaks meeting, inshallah. Okay. We'll come to that one, inshallah. That's a special one. Okay, and the last one's what going to be? Iqama. Iqama is from the word muqim. Muqim is the opposite of musafir. So we have two states. You can generally either be a muqim, which means you're resident, you're not a traveler, or you can be musafir, which means you are a traveler. Each of those are legal definitions. I'll come to it again, inshallah, legal definitions. But in brief, if you travel more than 81 kilometers, you are musafir. And your journey is less, or your journey is not more than 3 days, excluding the day of arrival and departure, then you are musafir. So, for example, if you're going to go to Joburg for 2 days, you're going to work. Is it more than 81 kilometers? Yes. Are you staying there for less than 3 days? Yes. And therefore, you're musafir all the time. You're musafir from the time you travel till the time you land, till the day 1, day 2, you travel back. You are musafir. And if you're musafir, you are not required to fast. It's optional. The fasting becomes optional. But you must pay it back, yes. You must pay it back. So basically what it means is that you are musafir if you stay in a place for not more than, the maximum is 3 days, but you must exclude the traveling time. So say I drive from here to Joburg and it takes me 5 days to drive. I don't count that 5 days I'm musafir. And then I get there and I stay there for 3 days, I'm musafir. Then I drive back for 5 days, I'm musafir. So 5 plus 5 plus 3, for all 13 days, I was musafir. You with me? If I drive for 5 days there and I stay there for 5 days, then for the 5 days that I was driving there, I'm musafir. But when I get there, because I'm going to be staying for longer than 3 days, when I get there, I'm no longer musafir. And then I drive back again. When I drive back, get in my car and drive back, I'm again musafir. And if I drive for 5 days, I'm musafir for five days. So when you think about musafir, the part that is the journey, you're always musafir. And when you get to the destination, there you see, is it more than 3 days or less than 3 days? You with me? If it's more than 3 days, then you're no longer musafir at the destination. If it's 3 days or less, then you are musafir at the destination. Okay. We'll do it in more detail when we do Jami Qasr Salah, inshallah. And you have the option to fast. You have the option to fast or to not fast. No.
And now you're in the plane and it's going to be purchased, but which place do you think or does this?
Yes, yeah, so the time is basically estimated in the place that you're at. So if you're flying over Kenya and the sun sets in Kenya, then you break your fast there. You with me? So I'm saying fly from South Africa to Dubai. Now you're flying. I don't know when to break your fast. You must break your fast when the sun sets in the place that you are at. No. But normally you can look out the window. If you don't see the sun, you eat. They won't announce Maghrib. No. So you look at the window, you see, okay, sunset, you eat. You with me? So you just, because when you look out the window, you're looking out of the window at the sunset of that place. In fact, it will be a bit extra because the sun will set quick earlier because you're in the sky and they're at the bottom. But anyway, that's how I judge it. Makes sense? So say you're fasting and know, can I break my fast on the plane? Look out of the window. If there's no sun, or you Google it and say, you know, they have that maps that show you where you are now. I'm in Kenya. You can Google if your thing works, or what time is Maghrib in Kenya, and then you can break your fast then. And the same with the starting fast. It'll start at the time that the place you are in. No. But once again, if you are doing that, you don't have to fast. It's optional. No. Okay, and you can't judge anybody for not fasting. You can't say like, why are you not fasting? It's so comfortable here in business class, you must fast. They have to fast. If they don't want to fast, they don't have to fast. No, because I'm Musafir.
Okay, you end up like being a baby at home. Then do you fast like extra day?
Yeah, so sometimes what happens is like you start your fast here and you end your fast in Saudi because you got Umrah or something. You basically just you celebrate Eid with the with the Eid of the people. If that meant that your fast was 28 days, you must add an extra day afterwards.
So like from here to a place that's like 9 hours behind,
Mm.
and even with solar, and then you made your solar and you fasted, and now you're in this place, now must you do it for like daily.
When you separate the two, Salah, when you make Salah, then you finish the Salah. Doesn't matter where you make it. So in terms of fasting, the easy rule is just do what the people are doing in the town. No. Okay.
Then you need to buy the piece the day before break down. So
Yeah, if that resulted in your month being 28 days, you'll pay back one extra day. Because you don't get a 28-day month in Islam. You must just pay back one day, inshallah. No. Bismillah.
The option of fasting or not fasting when you're traveling.
No.
So if you decide to fast, the people who argue, why do you not take advantage of the opportunity to not fast? But you feel physically well, strong,
No.
and you really want to fast. But they want to make an argument of what answer is there for me, what response is there for me.
Yeah, so yes.
With the
So in the fiqh books, what they recommend, and again, the recommendations, not a compulsory thing, they recommend that if you can fast with ease, it's better to fast. And if there's some difficulty, it's better not to fast. So if you're traveling and you can fast with ease, I mean, it's Ramadan's like a holy month and all those things, and you can fast with ease, then it's better to fast. Because some travel, if I like drive from here and I drive 81 kilometers, not far. You with me, say I have a meeting now in I don't know, in Swellendam or Potterfield or something. It's not like that far. And so perhaps it'll be easy for me to fast because it's just like a 2 hour drive and I'm there. And then so they recommend that if you can fast with ease while you're traveling, then it's good to fast. But if there's difficulty, then it's better not to fast. But in the end, you have a free choice. You can give the answer I just gave now. It's fine. Yeah, you see what happens is people like who don't study will make up stuff. And then you might just say, mashallah, and carry on with life.
you keep on not taking advantage of it.
So all the answers have already been, we have all the answers already to all the questions. So people must study. But people who don't study, they make up analogies in their mind. It's like this, and like this, and like it's like it doesn't really work like that. So yeah. So I don't argue with people. Like I don't actually like to be honest, I don't like to talk about Islam to like normal people. They're like make me nervous. Because like I don't like a class because it's fine, we have understanding and we have a framework. But if I must go to like a wedding and then people maybe don't know Maulana now, even if they know Maulana, then they'll have like a whole debate about Islam. And I'd rather like move away because I don't want to get into you think, I think, it's like because people they're like emotive about the positions. Like the one day I don't know, I went to buy paint and then they were arguing in there, but we wear kufiya to the masjid. And then they asked me, Maulana, what do you like? I walked into this argument. And then they asked me, what do you think, Maulana? I said, I think I'm here to buy paint. And then I left. Because they're not coming as like a student. Like, mashallah, you studied, you know the answer, give me the answer. They're coming from two emotive, nafsi points of view, and they want someone to declare them winner. And so therefore, I don't like to like talk about, I rather talk about rugby is better or talk about the politics or something. It's like more neutral. But if like ordinary people talk about Islam and they're like emotive and they have their views, because especially old uncles, I don't know, old uncles, they always have some weird views. They always have some weird views that they like, no, it must be that way, and they have like their logical argument why, but it's not really based on actual knowledge. And so my advice is just, you can say, mashallah, okay, I understand, I learned like this, but inshallah, may Allah guide, and then you carry on. You see what happens? If the person is not there where you can educate them, then don't try to educate them. It's not going to work. And especially if there's a hierarchy, meaning what? If you're young and it's your uncle, your auntie, your mommy, your grandparents, you can't be your mommy and grandparents' teacher. It's not going to work out. You know, maybe your parents are doing something for 30 years. And I say, oh, mom, we learned the fiqh, safin to najas, like this. They don't, then it's not going to go well. Yeah, it's just not going to go well. So just don't do it. You know, unless they really want to learn, and mashallah, you've become like some sort of mu'allima in your house, that's different. But generally speaking, if it's an elder, you don't advise them. You just leave them. You just give them, make them tea, make khidmah of them. That's all you do to them. Just look after them. Don't try to teach those who are older unless they ask you. So that's my advice, inshallah, is that you learn the fiqh now, so you know the fiqh, then just practice upon it. And whoever wants to argue and say, because people argue both, people say, no, no, it's the traveling of that time, not traveling this time. That time we had a camel, now we have an aircon, and now we have first class, and now we have that. And it's okay, you can make all those arguments, but it's not going to change the fiqh. The fiqh has been the same like for 1,400 years. And so it is what it is. If you go over 81 kilometers, you're a traveler, you have the option. If there's ease, is recommended to fast. If you can, it's optional. And if there's difficulty, you recommend not to fast. So it's like a simple, very simple law. And so that's it. No,
What they do is they form their own opinions,
no.
and which is dangerous because of that is when they want to agree with you.
No.
One, they want to test your knowledge, and number two, they want to prove themselves right.
Yeah.
So we just keep going.
Yeah, or sometimes also there's not people forming their own opinions. It's people like holding on to one opinion where there's actually three opinions. You ask me, but because they muallim, they khalifa taught them the one opinion, that's what they're on. You know, ik het zo geleerd. That's how they're on. Like I learned like this. You know, so they're not prepared to understand. Oh, there's different madhab, different position, different evidence, different interpretation. They don't get into that stuff there, and so that's also another situation where people learn something, but they're so stuck to it, but they're stuck for like historical, sentimental reasons. Whereas we're busy with evidence here. So we're busy with like, if you bring a view, bring the evidence. So if you say it must be like this, and I say, oh, but there's another mother with a different view because they interpret like this, then your position is over because there's no universal view on it. So a lot of second years that when you go through second year, you start realizing, oh, these things here, there's like one view on it, and we must practice. And these things here, oh, there's multiple views, and we can navigate it differently. No. The more like the thing is that the more you study Islam, the easier Islam becomes. The less you study Islam, the harder it becomes. Why? The less you study Islam, the less views you know. So I only taught one thing. When you study more, study more, study more, oh, there's this view, this view, this view. Oh, this I can do this way also. You know, it creates more and more ease in your life. No. And it makes you less judgmental because you say, oh, they practicing according to that view, I'm on this view. And then you get ease in your life. And so it's a lot of ease to study. Alhamdulillah.
Same view as
No,
generation.
no, mashallah. It's a role model, mashallah.
We have to start something like this. Your mind has to be open to understanding and to accepting different views.
No,
You've got a deeper understanding of the view.
no. Was there Andy?
So, this one second, then in some doesn't even matter how you feel. I feel this is better, I feel this is good. But then, so then I understand obviously if we like you're still learning and you're then it absolutely is a level where people are very biased, which you can't judge, but sometimes you can kind of see in the way they feel about something what does this role.
When you say the way they feel, what do you mean?
If they feel a certain opinion like resonates more with them, and then you understand, okay, maybe they like have a closeness with them.
Yeah.
Like we don't understand them.
That's fine, but the problem is the people who have the other view are also close to Allah. You just haven't met them. You with me? You meet the Shaykh and he's mashallah, wali of Allah Ta'ala, is all the good things, and the Shaykh says, no, I got basira, I got insight, I got a dream, I studied 100 years, this is my opinion, and you must go with his opinion. Now you the student, you're like, yes, I believe in my Shaykh, and I'm going to follow my Shaykh, and he's right, and I have, and that's fine. But if you're going to go to the other Shaykh of the Hanafi madhab, you're going to go find him there in Deoband, you're going to find him there, you're going to find that's also a pious guy. That's also making ibadah all night, who's also studied for 20 years, also done this. You know what I mean? So just you haven't been exposed to the scholars. And we're not speaking about one scholar here. Remember, madhaib are generations, a synthesis of the views of generation of scholars. You may say Shafi rahimahullah died in 204. 204. What are we now? We're like 40 something. That's going to be 1,200 years. So the Shafi madhab is 1,200 years old. So when I say it's a Shafi opinion, it's the collection of scholars for 1,200 years. Abu Hanifa died early in 150. It's a collection of scholars. You know what I mean? So a personal, no matter how pious they are, they can't take away the other views. You with me? So in the end, you make a personal choice to follow someone, but also realize that there are other views and we can bring the evidence for them and so on. No. So that's what I mean when I say when I say feelings don't matter in Islam, I meant not like that really. I meant more that you must do what you have to do. Like you have to follow the law. Whichever interpretation you use, you still have to follow the law. That's what I actually meant when I said feelings don't matter. I wasn't speaking about the walis. No. Okay. Bismillah. Who's reading next? Who else is what's a Hafidah as well? Who else is Hafidah here? Who of you memorized more than 5 juz? You. Okay, Bismillah, inshallah, Bismillah. Arkan. Where's your book? Bismillah. Arkan. Okay. Arkan. Arkan is the plural of rukn. Ruknun. Arkanun is the plural. Okay, so let's in your mind clarify, because the first bar we're doing, clarify the difference between shart and rukn. What was shart again? Condition, meaning what? What must be in place before the action can even start or be considered valid? You with me? So the person must be Muslim, the person must be sane, the person must be mukallaf, the person mustn't be ill, the person mustn't be traveling, the person mustn't be old and frail. All of that must be in place before the action can start. A rukn is, what are those elements that make the action sahih once the shurut are in place? So once all the shurut are in place, now to fast. What constitutes a valid fast? What are the integrals, elements that constitute a valid fast? So here we read arkanuhu. Arkanuhu means what? Its integrals, its essential components, its components which you can't do without. Now, is how much? Is thalathatu ashya. Is three ashya, three things. Bismillah. Okay, niyyah. Okay, niyyah. What does niyyah mean to you? What does intention mean to you? When I say you must have a niyyah, what do I mean? Like if I say you must have a niyyah to fast every day, what do you understand by that? Okay, Bismillah.
And the idea of this is what I'm going to do, and you make a conscious selection.
Oh, okay, good. So let's separate. Where is the place of the niyyah? Is the place of the niyyah on the tongue or in the heart? The place of the niyyah in the ibadat, in salah, in fasting, is in the heart. That's the first thing. So you saying it or not saying it is secondary. You with me? You saying it or not saying it is secondary. In general, the Shafi'i madhab, in general, recommends saying the niyyah to affirm the heart. However, we don't actually find that the Prophet ﷺ in most cases said the niyyah. We don't find a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ saying the niyyah before salah. نويت أن أصلي صلاة الظهر أربع ركعات مستقبل. We don't find a hadith like that. We don't find the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ says نويت صلاة غد أن أداء فرض شهر رمضان. We don't find the hadith like that. We don't often find, I don't know if we ever find, but we don't for salah, we don't find it, and for fasting, we don't find it. We don't find the Prophet ﷺ saying a niyyah. You with me? So there are those who argue like to say a niyyah is bid'ah. The Shafi'is say, you should say the niyyah, it is sunnah, it is recommended. But when they say it's sunnah, they don't mean it's sunnah because the Prophet ﷺ did it. They mean it's sunnah because that action will make your heart, like, it reinforces your heart. Okay. So you understand that? First of all, the place of the niyyah is where? A place is called the mahal. The mahallun niyyah is where? The qalb, not the lisan, not the tongue. Okay, so you can so we know, so when you say niyyah, we're not talking about saying it. Saying it is never the condition. The saying is the secondary thing, sunnah. You can say it, not say it, that's separate. You must have it in your heart. What must be in your heart? Okay, must be in my heart. What must be in my heart? What must be in your heart? Generally, what must be in your heart is you must have the action in your heart. Because your heart must know, is this action called fasting or salah or umrah or hajj? What is action that I'm intending to do? Like, you're not waking up tomorrow morning on Thursday and, okay, now wait to hajj or something. You're like, you with me? Your heart must know what action it is doing. The next thing that your heart must know is whether that action is fard or not. Your heart must know whether the action is fard or not. And the last thing that your heart must know is, does that action have a specific name? For example, is this the fasting of Sha'ban? Is it the fasting of Ramadan? Is the fasting of Shawwal? If it's a fard action, your heart must know that this Ramadan, that is the one that is fard. The same we'll come to salah, but in salah, it's only those three things. You must know it is salah I'm making. You must know which salah, because you can't say Allahu Akbar, I'm making each salah. For fard salah, you must know which fard salah. I'm making dhuhr, asr, both 4 rakats, which I'm making. So you must know which salah it is, and you must know whether it's fard or not. You with me? So what they're saying here is they're saying, niyyatun, you must have a niyyah. So what must be in your heart? In your heart must be that the night before or before Fajr, I am planning to fast. That's the action. You must know that the action is fard, and you must know it's the actual fasting of Ramadan. Are you with me? So you must have that in your heart, laylan, the night, likulli yawmin, before every day. Fil fard, in the fard fasting. Okay, so let's separate the two. Okay. You get a fard fast and you get a sunnah fast. You know the difference. Which one is fard? Ramadan. And what else is fard? Now what other fasting is fard? What other fast is fard? No other fast is fard except Ramadan, and maybe if you've made an oath, that's a separate discussion. You made an oath, let's leave oath for now. So basically, the Ramadan is the only, when I mean only fard, not the 6th of Shawwal, not the 10th of Muharram, not the Ayyamul Bid, the middle of the month, not the Monday, Wednesday, not the alternative days, are all sunnah fast. The Ramadan is the fard one. So for the Ramadan fast, the niyyah must be in place before the action starts. I'll come to that. The niyyah must be in place before the action starts. So when does the fasting of Ramadan begin? What time of the day? What time does it starts? It starts at Fajr time. So the niyyah must be in place before Fajr for the Ramadan fast. For a Sunnah fast, your niyyah must be in place before before Zawal. Zawal means before Dhuhr. Meaning what? If I was sleeping and I woke up tomorrow, not tomorrow, tomorrow's a bad day. Let's say after Ramadan. After Ramadan, I wake up and it's Tuesday and I wake up at 10 a.m. And I tell myself, oh, it's 10 o'clock. Oh, it's Sha'ban. I mean, it's Shawwal. Okay, let me fast today. You can make that niyyah because it's a sunnah fast and it's done before Dhuhr time. You can like make the niyyah before Dhuhr. But when it comes to Ramadan, you must make the niyyah before the fast starts. Okay. So in the Shafi madhab, that niyyah is required every night. Therefore, if you go to Tarawih, the Imam will say, نَوَيْتُ صَوْمَ غَدٍ أَنْ أَدَاءِ فَرْضِ شَهْرِ رَمَضَانَ هذه سنة إيمانا واحتسابا لوجه الله الكريم, whatever they use. They make that why? Because we're like a Shafi community. So in the Shafi community, the saying of it is important. And the saying of it every night is the preparation for the day before. If you didn't go to masjid and you didn't say it, what must you have in your heart? In your heart, you must know. You don't even have to like say it. You can just have in your heart. You must know that tomorrow you're going to fast. And tomorrow is the fard fast of Ramadan. That's all you must know. You with me? You mustn't like go to bed and think, maybe I'll fast, maybe I won't fast, I'll see how I feel. That's not niyyah, I'll see how I feel. So even if you didn't have like a nawaitu so maghadin, and you know you're going to fast tomorrow, that is sufficient as a niyyah. You with me? Because maybe you're thinking, oh, maybe I forgot to say it, or did I think about it? Like, you know, your mind plays tricks with you. Did I think about it? Did I intend it? If you know that tomorrow you must fast, that's the niyyah. You with me? Because you know it's fasting, you know it's Ramadan, you know it's fast. Okay. I saw some hands. Bismillah. No, no, before Fajr. And then there's one also like a easy thing to do, which I recommend, is also make the niyyah to fast the whole month. Make the niyyah to fast the whole month. Why? Because in the Maliki madhab, one niyyah for the whole month suffices. So in the Maliki madhab, if Ramadan comes on Thursday, you say, I make intention to fast the whole Ramadan, except obviously if I stuff, but you make intention on Ramadan, then your niyyah for the whole month is finished. According to which madhab? The Maliki madhab. The Shafi scholars say it's also good in case you die, you made niyyah for the whole month also. You can get more reward as well because you made niyyah. Now, and the second thing is in the Shafi madhab, making the niyyah does not mean that you have to say it. It doesn't even mean that you have to like sit down and like have a meditation session. You know what I mean? All it just means is you must know that you are fasting tomorrow. You with me? So the only day that's really going to be unclear is the first day and the last day. Because the first day, when you're going to make the niyyah, when you see the announcement, you with me? You're not going to automatically make the niyyah the first day because you don't know, okay. When you see the announcement, you're going to make the niyyah in your heart or whatever, you make the niyyah. And then at the end, the last day, you're obviously only going to make the niyyah when you see, did they see the moon or didn't they see the moon? If they saw the moon, you can't make the niyyah on the fast tomorrow's Eid. Which is the first and the last day, you're a bit unsure. But the rest of the month, you will know it's fasting. And therefore, you will generally always have the niyyah. No. Okay, so the niyyah is not like a stressful thing. Don't be stressed by it because all of you know that you're fasting the month. If you know that you're fasting a month, that is niyyah. No. You know? No, you might just know that like if someone asks you fasting tomorrow, you say yes.
But they say that like you can eat until the white line appears in the sky.
Yeah, we'll come to inshallah when it now. Okay, so niyatu, the first thing. Any other questions? We'll come to the when to eat all of those things. So the first thing you must have the niyyah. We must have the niyyah. Laylan, the night. Remember, because fasting starts at dawn, which is the daybreak. Likulli yawmin, for every day, fil fard, in the fard. Why does it say in the fard? Because if it's not fard, the niyyah doesn't have to be at night. The niyyah can be any time until dhuhr time in the sunnah. That's why they say fil fard, to say specifically for the fard month of Ramadan. All good. Next one, Bismillah. Okay, the next thing is you must make tarku muftiran. What's a muftir? Like Eid al-Fitr, like fatara. Fatara means to break. Like Allah is al-fatir, fatir al-samawati wal-ard, the one that breaks. So fatara means to break something, it means to break your fast. So the second condition is you must make tarku muftirin. What's tark mean? To omit, to leave off. You must leave off all muftirs, all fast breakers. Because fasting means you don't break your fast. You must leave off all elements which can break your fast. Let's say for now, just eating, drinking, and intimacy. You must leave off those things. You must leave off those things. Dhakiran mukhtaran. Dhakiran means when you remember it, and mukhtar means when you choose it. So you must leave it off with intent. However, if you had to take a muftir, like you take a glass of water, you drink it, and you're not dhakir. Dhakir means you don't remember. You're not mukhtar. Mukhtar means you chose. You didn't choose to break your fast. Then your fast is still valid. Are you with me? So the condition is you must leave off the muftir knowingly. You must leave it off knowingly. As for unknowingly, that's actually overlooked. Okay. غير, we can inshallah. غير جاهل مجهول. Except, and here this excludes a person who is jahil or ma'adhur. So what does jahil ma'adhur mean? Jahil means someone who doesn't have knowledge. Someone who maybe became Muslim and they don't live by ulama and there's no internet and they can't learn. They almost like we excuse them and we're more flexible with them. And a ma'adhur is someone who is excused from the law. Maybe they became Muslim yesterday and now they don't know how to do it. And now they drink water. They say, oh, I thought I can drink until sunrise, but they became Muslim yesterday. So they're ma'adhur. So in other words, if they're jahil, if they're far from ulama and Islamic culture, Islamic knowledge, we almost like more flexible with them. If they make a few mistakes, we overlook it. If they're ma'adhur, they become Muslim like now, we also make a few exceptions. But none of it applies, it doesn't apply to any of you. So your main thing is to have a valid fast. You must stay away from breaking your fast intentionally. What breaks your fast? We'll come to inshallah. Okay. Last one. Okay. The third rukun is that there must be a fasting person. I know it sounds obvious, but it's almost like when they speak about janazah, they say it must be a dead person. Like, you must have like a mayyit to have a janazah. So for the fasting, you must have a person. Because if you take the person away, there is no fasting. So you must have the person, the sa'im. That person must have a niyyah before Fajr. Number two, and that person must stay away from breakers for the day. Those three things, then your fast is legally valid. You with me? You have a person, the sa'im, the faster, who meets all the shurut. And that person makes a niyyah before the day, and the person stays away from the breakers for the day. Their fasting is permissible. Okay. Bismillah. Let me see what they have next year. Kafara. I want to get into what breaks your fast. So, okay, let me just see where to go now. Yeah, I see it here. Oh, that's what I'm looking for, yeah. Where did I have the muftirs here? Let me just see. This. Okay. Anyway, so let me talk something, inshallah. They don't like very clearly explained here. So let's just talk about what breaks your fast. So what breaks your fast? So what breaks your fast is um, you have in your body you have a manfad. A manfad means a opening. A manfad means an opening into your body. So your eye is a manfad because you can put things into your eye and go inside your body. Your nose is a manfad because you can put things into your nose and you can go into your body. Your mouth is a manfad because you put in your mouth. Your ears are considered to be a manfad, and your two private parts are considered to be a manfad. Those are how many are those? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you have 6 entrances into your body. Then you have something, what's it called? Manfad. What's it called? Manfad. Mim, noon, fa, the. Manfad. Manfad. Now, then you have something called the jawf. What's a jawf? A jawf is a cavity. Generally in the body, you have two jawfs. Your one jawf is like your head area, your skull area is a jawf. You can see like your ears goes into this cavity area of your body. So this is one jawf. And then your chest and your stomach area, this is considered to be like another jawf. Jawf means cavities. So you have these two major cavities in your body. So the ruling in general is that if an object, not like dust from the road and not like smoke from a fire or something, if an object enters into your jawf, into your head, or into your chest, digestive system cavity, through one of the openings, that breaks your fast. Okay. So I'll write it maybe in Arabic for you. What breaks your fast is going to be uh, where's my khoya? What does the who mean? Entrance. Dukhul al-ayn means, not the eye, ayn means an object. Dukhul al-ayn mean, what's a manfad? An opening. Maftuh. What does maftuh mean? from an open cavity. Okay. This is the technical definition of whether you break your fast. So let's see what that includes. What it includes. Okay. So let's talk about what's the most common one when it comes to fasting.
See.
I'll show you. So the most common one, they should be able to share the sharing actually. Okay, double check again. So the most common, when we think about fasting, the most common one is generally the mouth. So in the mouth, something mustn't enter into your cavity from the mouth. So the cavity doesn't begin with the mouth. The cavity begins at the back of the throat. So something entering your mouth doesn't break your fast. Therefore, you can take wudu in the fast, you go into your mouth. You with me? Something entering your mouth doesn't break your fast. It's when you swallow that thing, when it goes down, and then it breaks your fast. So any ain means a substance, like a crumb of bread or a piece of a drop of water or something, that you intentionally enter and it goes down into your cavity, that is going to break your fast. That's like the default rule. Does it apply to nose as well? What do you think? Does it apply to those as well? Because the nose goes to the same cavity. The nose goes to the same cavity. So it applies to the nose as well. What about the ears? What you find in the ears is in the traditional fiqh books, they used to include the ears. But according to more modern positions, the ears are not included because generally you have an eardrum that prevents entry into your skull area. You with me? You have something which prevents it. So in the classical view, they used to include ears, but in the more contemporary views, ears are not included because it doesn't actually penetrate you. It just normally goes in and comes out again, doesn't go through you. And the last one is the eye, which is interesting. In the classical books, they don't include the eye, but we actually find that through the eye, you can actually have entrance through the eye. But generally, the eye, we kind of overlook. The classical books don't also include the eye as well. And in the private parts, we include. So if someone has to get like an IUD or get a pap smear, that will be entrance into those areas, basically. You can taste sometimes. You can taste the eye drops here. No. So in the classical opinion, in the classical fiqh books, they say it doesn't break your fast because I don't think they had like full knowledge of that. In the modern opinion, you can either just follow the classical books or you can avoid it if you have to. You can go either way with regard to the eye. Okay, so that's the number one basic law. That all clear to everybody. The number one basic law is that you mustn't enter anything into your entrances of your body into the cavity. And you mustn't do so intentionally. Unintentionally is different. Meaning what? I drink a glass of water unintentionally. That's okay because it wasn't intentional. Okay. Bismillah. Okay. Yes. So let's discuss something further. Okay. So that's like let's call that like the basic law. Remember, these laws are like before they were like injections and these laws were formed a long time ago. People in the desert, they didn't have all of these modern things where you're gonna have now. You're gonna have drips and you're going to have asthma pumps and you're gonna have all of these new things. So I'm starting with the basic law for you to understand the basic law. That's where the law came from. Okay. Then with regard to sexual intimacy, what regards as, and sometimes the fiqh is explicit, but it has to be explicit so you can live your life. So what happens with regard to what breaks your fast sexually is if the head of the penis enters into the lady, the whole head of it. So if someone had to have foreplay and the private parts are just touching, it's not considered to be a fast breaker. You with me? It must be the entire head of the penis must enter, and then it's considered to be sexual intercourse. And then it breaks the fast. So touching private parts, touching each other, that's not considered to be a fast breaker. It's important if you're married to know the difference between these things. Now, so those are the two main things in terms of classical fiqh. You got me? Because now the new question comes with the injections will come down to it. But according to classical fiqh, those was like the beginning and end of fasting. Then the ulama discussed what if you walk in a dusty road, okay, you can't avoid it, the dust goes in, that's okay. What if you walk into the bakery and there's some wheat in the air and you breathe it in, that's okay because it's unintentionally. What happens if you rinse your mouth for wudu and while you're rinsing your mouth, water goes in your throat? Then they say, okay, did you do it moderately or excessively? If you did it moderately, like a normal, just moderate rinse, and some water went in, you don't break your fast. If you did like excessively, you took like a whole glass and you like goggle, and then you're gonna break your fast because you almost like invited that to happen. The same also with submersing yourself in water. If water goes in and you submerge yourself in water, you're generally going to break your fast because the submersing of yourself is not required. You with me? You can take a ghusl without submersing yourself. You can wash yourself. Now, so one shouldn't, if you swim in Ramadan, you shouldn't swim in a way that you submerge your whole head because if water does enter into your throat, you're going to break your fast. Now, obviously before Maghrib, after Maghrib, you can swim. Now, okay, so let's go to some of the modern, so what are the modern questions? Okay, let's dig into like injections in general. Can you have an injection in the fast? So what they do is they separate between injections that go into your muscle. What do you call that? Intramuscular or intermuscular? Is it like a name? Okay, anyway, injections that go into your muscles, I think like a vitamin B or something, I don't know. Those injections go into your muscles, and generally an injection in your muscles doesn't break your fasting. And then we talk about injections that go into your veins. It goes into your veins, and there's going to be some difference of opinion with regard to the vein, because the vein itself is not the jawf. Okay, there's some ikhtilaf, but whether jawf or not, because like a pipe, but it leads to a jawf. It comes to your cavity. So there's going to be some ikhtilaf. But what they're going to look at in that case, they're going to check, generally speaking, is does that injection nourish you or not? Do you with me? Because you can go and you can have a drip that nourishes you, it gives you liquids and gives you whatever salts and those things. So if the injection nourishes you, they can say generally it breaks your fast. If it's non-nourishing, it's not going to break your fast. So you see the difference. So one is whether it's in the muscle or not in the muscle. Generally in the muscle, it doesn't break your fast. Then into the veins or into the jawf, we check whether it's going to be nourishing or not. No. Then there's one further thing, because what if you poke into your jawf directly? Because maybe I'm poking into my arm, I'm not poking into the jawf. The jawf is the head and the stomach. If I poke into the jawf directly, some ulama are going to say that's going to break your fast because you're entering something into the jawf directly. No. So I don't know the answer. I don't know how diabetes injections work. Where do they normally go? Into the stomach. And is it nourishing or not nourishing? Okay. Okay, let me come back to you on the diabetes question, inshallah. I must just do some research on the injections, inshallah. Blood tests generally are going to be fine because you're not entering into a jawf. Because the vein being a jawf is a difference of opinion, and you're not nourishing yourself, you're extracting blood, and so that's going to be fine as well.
The type of weight in the muscle, but
Generally, They inject you in the gum, so it's not part of your jawf. I don't think it's in your jawf, because remember, your jawf only starts when you make ha, where the ha comes out. That's ha. Your jawf like starts here. So this part here is not part of your jawf. It wouldn't break your fast, but that's difficult to avoid liquids going down when the dentist is busy, because there's lots of blood and lots of things happening. So ideally, you should do it outside Ramadan. But if you can't, it depends whether things enter your system or not. No. According to that definition, if someone stabs you, and then it will break your fasting because it's something entering into your jawf. Okay. This is the classical Shafi opinion. Then some of the Hanbali scholars, they had a different definition for jawf. They took jawf simply as your stomach and your digestive system, not including your lungs. You with me? Because in their opinion, because remember, jawf, it doesn't come in hadith. Jawf starts here and ends here, jawf is here. This is the scholars' attempt to get the definition. So according to the Hanbali scholars, the Salafi scholars, they said that the jawf is the digestive system, the stomach and the intestines, the digestive system. I'll come to now, inshallah. So they said that is where the jawf is. And so, for example, on something like the asthma pump, people will say, okay, you have a pump, and then if you go according to the classical opinion, you must see, is that thing coming out of the pump an ayn or not? And then most scholars say is an ayn, it's an actual substance that is entering you. And if you apply the normal Shafi'i view, it's going to do what? The ayn is entering your jawf. Doesn't matter where it's in jawf, it's going down your throat, and therefore it breaks your fast. According to some of the contemporary opinions from the Hanbalis or the Salafis, they would say that the majority of that is going into your lungs, and the negligible amount is going into your digestive system, and it's not nourishing, and therefore it doesn't break your fast. And so on something like the asthma pump, you're going to get a difference. Some people are going to say that it breaks your fast, and some people are saying that it doesn't break your fast. What we can do is that let's just read it quickly. Okay, so we can read, mashallah. Our teacher Mata rahimahullah was the mufti, and so on these issues, he would help us navigate this. You with me? So Mata rahimahullah, he will come in. These are borderline issues because they're not classical issues, they're new issues. So Mata rahimahullah will come up with a fatwa. So let's read Mata's fatwa on this. It says here, I would like to know what is the law on using an asthma pump while fasting. I keep on getting conflicting opinions. Okay, let's pause there. Do you understand the conflict? The conflict revolves around the definition of a jawf. If you consider this whole thing, including the chest, to be the jawf, people can say it breaks because you have ayn entering jawf from a manfad maftuh. You understand? If you consider the digestive system to be a jawf, then you can have opinions and say it's fine because it's not entering into the digestive system except for a negligible amount. So this is what I understand when I say when people follow ilm. You understand, okay, why there's no prophetic guidance on this in terms of where jawf begins and ends. There's no perfect hadith about asthma pump. So it's a matter of ijtihad. When it comes to ijtihad, understand the definitions. What does fasting mean? What does breaking fasting mean? Okay, breaking fasting means a substance entering the jawf. What does jawf mean? According to these scholars, it means this. According to these scholars, it means this. You with me? Are you sure navigating it? You're navigating it in a very precise way. So it's not like, I think you can have a thought, but the thought doesn't change the existing opinions. The opinions exist, whether you think them right or wrong, they exist. You with me? So let's read Mawta rahmallah, and this is how we kind of trained by Mawta in terms of answering questions. So Mawta, the general thing we do is we always give the Shafi opinion first because we're a Shafi community. So you'll start off the same way. You'll say, according to the most conservative reading of the Shafi'i madhab, use of the ashma inhaler will break the fast. What's that? That's the default classical Shafi'i opinion. So if you're going to go talk to a scholar who's strictly Shafi'i, who's been trained in the Shafi'i madhab, they're going to say, ashma pump, ain, jove, breaks the fast. No question, black and white. Okay. But Mu'ta's system was always to try to create ease for people by looking for alternative views so people can navigate life a bit easier. Because if someone has chronic asthma, you can tell them, rest of your life, don't fast. Yeah, so maybe a difficult thing for that person. So Mu'ta rahimahullah will look for alternative views. Then he says, the possibility exists that inhaling at the time of actually experiencing an asthma attack and not merely in anticipation of an attack would not invalidate the fast. This is based on a takhrij or an extrapolation. Extrapolation means you take an existing law and you extract a new law from an existing law. Of a parallel case mentioned by Qadi Hussein, further adopted by his pupil Al-Baghawi, I support this extrapolation. What is the extrapolation? According to the classical fiqh, if someone had piles, something coming out of their entrances, and they pushed it back in, they wouldn't break their fast. So what they're saying there, so Mu'ta is saying that comes in the books. The Mu'ta is saying, based on that, that means when there is an acute reason for you, an acute medical reason for you to enter an ayn into a jawf, according to Qadi Hussein in the classical books, it doesn't break it for piles. The Mu'ta says, I extrapolate from that. If you have an asthma attack, it's acute, like the piles coming out is acute. You have me? And therefore, Mu'ta's position is, if it's taken while you're having an attack and you're taking it, you can take your pump and keep fasting. And Mu'ta says what? I support this extrapolation. You with me? So I actually think Mu'ta is unique in this extrapolation. I don't know if other scholars have it. So this is the one thing. So asthma pump, Mu'ta is saying, if it's taken when the attack is commencing, it's permissible. It won't break the fast. If it's preventative, it will break the fast, according to this extrapolation. Then he goes, the position also exists that using the inhaler does not invalidate the fast at all, whether acute or non-acute, albeit outside the Shafi'i madhab. Remember, it was the Hanbali Salafi position, not the Shafi'i position. He says this was the position taken by the 9th Symposium of the Islamic Organization for Medical Sciences in Kuwait in 1997. What is that? That symposium is scholars from around the world come, 50, 100 scholars, and I say, okay, asthma pump, what do we come up with? Then they come up with this position, it doesn't break at all. What I was telling you, this is a group of scholars, not like one person just make up his own thing. It's a group of scholars, it's a Fiqh council that came with this law. That law exists. My advice is give advice now. For those whose affliction with asthma stands in the way of an earnest desire to fast in Ramadan, is to adopt this position. What position? That it doesn't break at all. You can come to the bottom of it. Okay. At all. To adopt this position and complete his fast. So you see the three levels. Reading the three levels. Mu'ta says, number one, in the classical Shafi'i position, using the asthma pump breaks your fast. So you're going to speak to a scholar who understands that, and that's where the knowledge is at, they're going to say, breaks your fast. The Mu'ta is saying, Mu'ta Mufti, I found this case of Qadi Iyad where pushing back the piles didn't break the fast, even though you're entering it into a cavity. And therefore, I extrapolate from that an acute case of entering something into a cavity does not break the fast, and he supports that. Then he says, number three, I have found positions supported by Fiqh councils that using the asthma pump doesn't break the fast at all, whether preventative or whether acute usage. And his advice is that if you have an asthma affliction and you want to fast Ramadan, don't risk your life and say, I'm going to fast and see how it goes. You might die. Rather use the position that the Fiqh council has, use the pump and fast. No fidya, no qada. Okay. So then he says, however, if the adoption of this view causes anyone to have reservations, we advise that he follow it up with qada if he's able to, and fidya if not. Meaning what? If your whole life you feel uncomfortable, you don't know if it's doing it right, you don't know all of these things, then either don't fast and pay fidya, or fast and make qada. You with me? Either don't fast and make fidya because your ashma is chronic and therefore you must pay fidya, or fast and fast again when you feel a bit better. This would depend on the frequency of asthma attacks, whether he could potentially go from dawn till dusk without the use of the inhaler. This way, whether he follows up with qada fidya or not, he would have completed the fast of Ramadan in Ramadan, an achievement of such sanctity that, in our considered view, warrants resorting to non-standard position in fiqh. Kamata says, because Ramadan is so blessed, so holy, the person has asthma, chronic asthma, they have to use the pump 2 or 3 times a day. What are you going to give them? You say, Shafi madhab, no fasting for you. That's the classical view. No fasting, you break your fast, you can't, your fast doesn't count. Or do we go to a non-Shafi view and say, oh, in this view, you can fast, take your pump, Bismillah, and your fasting is valid, you get the blessing of Ramadan. Or if you have still some doubt, then fast and pay the fidya, or fast and make qada if you want. Okay. This is a good case study for you to see like how Mu'ta rahimahullah would approach fiqh and train us to approach fiqh. What is the approach? Give the Shafi position, give alternative positions that make sense for the community to produce ease where required. Okay. So what I'm saying, when someone comes to you and argues like it does break, it doesn't break, the argument doesn't matter because the fiqh is done. You can read the fiqh and then you can choose. You can say, I'm a strict Shafi'i and I believe it breaks. And Bismillah, then don't fast. And then you just pay fidya your whole life and that's okay. You're not doing anything haram, that's your fine. Or you say, no, I like to take the ease because I want to fast Ramadan and I want to feel my Ramadan is valid and there's valid views. And you do that because that's what the view exists. And so the argument doesn't matter because you have the evidence, you have the definitions, you have the views, and it all makes sense. Okay, so that's the long and the short of the ashma pump. Make sense? Did you also hear conflicting views before? Okay. So piles basically part of your body coming out, and so you must push it back because otherwise it's but dangerous. No, not kidney stones, different. The stones must come out.
To the body.
Yeah, but in the act of pushing, you're pushing something outside the body, in the body. No, what I'm saying is you're going to use something to push it, a finger or a stick or something. So you're going to be entering something outside the body, inside the body, to push it back. You with me? To put the act of pushing it back requires you to use something to physically push it back. And so you're entering something outside into the inside to provide relief. No. Yeah, so it's not nourishing. So if it goes into the muscle, it's fine. No.
Some old ladies, they say, oh, you can taste the food if it's salt even though you fast. So you're not swallowing it, just putting it in and breathe it out.
Okay, so let's go again. If you put something on your tongue and it doesn't go down your throat, is it breaking your fast? No. So can you brush your teeth with toothpaste? Okay, so can you brush your teeth with toothpaste? If you're spitting out the toothpaste, it is fine. Will you have the taste of mint afterwards? Yes, we don't call it ayn, we call it athar. Athar means like trace elements. It's almost like you use a miswak. And you finish the miswak, you might have the taste of the miswak afterwards. Then when it comes to tasting food, it depends if there is a need to do it. Maybe you have a very particular husband who likes his food in a certain way. Maybe you're cooking for lots of guests and you want to make sure that the food is fine. If you have a need to do it, you can taste the food and spit it out. Okay. Because you're not entering the food into your throat, so you taste it a little bit and spit it out and prefer rinse your mouth afterwards, and that will be permissible. If there's a reason for it. Not just because you want to get liquor now, you just taste this and put your tongue in here and here and here and here. There's a reason for it. You're cooking for a lot of people, you want to check that it's enough, all of those things. That's going to be permissible. Okay. Bismillah. No. No. You just act on knowledge. So the question is, if you want to adopt another marriage, like the Ashma thing now, you read this thing with me now, you see Malta supports it, I'm telling you it's fine to support it. Now you have someone in your family that's chronic asthma, they must use the asthma 4 times a day, 3 times a day. It's not sufficient for them to use in the morning before Fajr because they need it all the time. For them to adopt it, they must just know it's a valid view. You don't say like, no way to Madhabul Hanafi fi asthma pump and then you use it. You must just know it's a valid view. You must act on knowledge. So you must have the knowledge, and now you have the knowledge that it is a valid view, so you can act upon it. So we're going to approach all the fiqh like this. We're going to say this is the default view, and this is where you require ease, and then I'll dispense to you the ease as required, inshallah. Okay. Barakallah, sorry for taking a break, but I think it was important for us just to cover this basics of the fasting, but the fasting will continue next week. In now, period, inshallah. وصلى الله سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I'll also send you, I did read an article about the diabetes by the same Fiqh Council. I'll send the article as well.